movies.
She's alive! Alive!
All right, we're here to talk about, yet again, another John Hughes film, the 1985 teen comedy, Weird Science. A coming-of-age movie in which tells the story of two high school geeks who didn't fit in, are bullied, and can't get girlfriends. So in the usual classic 1980s style, they create their own ideal dream girl, Lisa.
Such an easy fix, eh?
Well, yeah, very simple fix. Basically, she's a genie, but extremely hot one.
Yeah, she's got superpowers.
She does, and she's there to serve them.
Yeah.
However, for those who are easily triggered and start yelling out misogyny and sexism,
how dare you!
Hold on, because as we find out through this film, her true role is to help them overcome and face their fears.
Yes.
Their social awkwardness, to be confident in their own skin and embrace who they are, as she loves them for who they are, so she helps them embrace themselves.
She is their teacher.
She is.
She guides them through this whole movie.
She is. Yeah. She's our guide.
Yeah.
But
she's a little crazy.
She's a little crazy. And don't get us wrong, this is a naughty comedy.
Oh, yes.
And I don't know about you, but I enjoyed these types of shows growing up.
Me too. Yeah, they're awesome.
And really, if you talk to a lot of people who grew up with this film, this is a treasured piece of 1980s pop culture entertainment, which happens to be a brilliant, rude comedy that has fond memories to this day for most of us.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, it's zany, it's wacky, it's insane, it's stupid, it's funny, it's just it's great entertainment, and you at the end of it you'd be like, what did I just watch?
That's right.
Yeah.
So without further ado, alrighty, let's power up those computers, dust off the old cutout Sears catalog underwear pics, strap on the bras on our head as we head back in time for our Weird Science Retro Roundtable. Alright, so Weird Science was released August 2nd, 1985, and was written and directed by John Hughes. The movie starred Anthony Michael Hall as Gary. Anthony Michael Hall has been kind of like, he's like a muse for John Hughes, because he's appeared in a number of his films, 16 Candles.
He is, yeah.
The Breakfast Club.
Yeah,
in this movie.
He played the perfect nerd.
Yeah.
You know, because I think probably due in part that he had braces in a lot of his movies. So it kind of helped. And he had that nerdy, skinny look, you know. So, yeah, it was perfect for him.
And different variations of a nerd. Because, like, in 16 Candles, he was kind of a nerd geek, but more like a super friend.
Yeah.
Because he had his buddies. They were, like, science and, like, alien kind of conspirators. Where in Breakfast Club, he was your basic, like, nerd.
Yes.
This one, it's hard to see him as a nerd. Like, you almost think Gary doesn't really see himself as a nerd.
No, because I think he kind of exudes enough confidence to be able to put this woman together. So,
he does.
Right? So he's definitely not lacking in the confidence department.
And then Ian Mitchell Smith plays his best friend Wyatt. I've only seen him in this movie, and I haven't seen him
Man, I think this is like, I swear this is the only movie he's been in, because IMDb only shows that picture of him in the movie.
Yes.
See, where Anthony Michael Hall, it shows him as an adult. So it's like it's maybe his own thing.
Yes, yeah, I don't think he has a long filmography.
Probably not.
I think he's actually a teacher.
Oh, good for him.
And then the wonderful, lovely Kelly LeBrock plays Lisa.
She's all dolled up. I seen a recent picture of her on IMDb, and she's kind of looking like a Raquel Welch. If you know what Raquel Welch looked like in, I believe, Grumpy Old Man 2, the second one.
Yeah.
She kind of reminds me of her there.
Yeah. Well, have you seen on YouTube, they have those kind of reunion tours at, like, conventions, and both Ian and Anthony and her have kind of went and did Q&A.
Oh, no way. That's awesome.
And, like, lovely people. Like, they sound like they...
That's good. They're getting together still.
Yeah, getting together, and she seems like a lovely lady. Well, she actually turned this role originally down because she was actually in France or something riding horses, and she was just having too much fun.
Wow.
And originally, I think they were going to have either Demi Moore or Robin Wright to play Lisa.
Okay.
Which that would have been interesting.
It would have been interesting.
Yeah.
Yep.
But still probable.
Yeah. Yeah.
Then we get the late great Bill Paxton, who plays Wyatt's older brother.
Yes.
Chet, a very memorable performance.
He was so funny in this one.
He steals every line.
Yep, he does. That's why he has such a great career, because he is a great presence.
And I love his haircut. I guess apparently he actually just did that on a whim.
Did he?
Yeah.
That was the funniest flat top I've ever seen in my life.
It is awful. Then the movie also stars a little known actor. He didn't really make it big or anything.
No.
Robert Downey Jr.
Oh, Iron Man? Who's that?
Yeah. Some B movie star.
Right.
And then Robert Russler, and each plays Ian and Max, who bully both Gary and Wyatt throughout the movie until they discover that Gary and Wyatt have something they desire.
Yeah.
Then there's Suzanne Snyder and Judy Aronson, who play Deb and Hilly, the girlfriends of Ian and Max, who discover there is something more than just hanging out at the cool party.
See, this movie does have a good message.
It does have a good message. And actually, these ladies, you still see them at the conventions too, and
good.
They look good still.
Nice. Right on.
Because I'm going to say this right off. I had huge crushes on these girls.
Did you?
Oh yeah, I love them. Okay, a quick note. I gotta say, as far as John Hughes movies go, this movie's kind of an odd film, don't you think?
Yeah, it's the wackiest one.
Yeah, if you look at most of his films, like Pretty in Pink, Breakfast Club, Ferris Bueller's Day Off, 16 Candles, and so on, his movies, especially the teen films, do have some obscene and vulgar shit in it, but they all had heart centered to it. And a sense of conscience.
Yeah.
Where in the case of Weird Science, and don't get me wrong, this movie does have heart in it, but since watching the film again, it feels like John Hughes said, fuck it, I'm going to do every young man's fantasy come to life, which in this case happens to be in the form of the wonderful Kelly LeBrock. And I think he hit it on the nose.
He did. Yep.
Also, Turk, would you believe this movie was actually rated PG-13 back in the day?
You know what? I'm not surprised, man. I'm not surprised at all.
Because it definitely pushes the boundaries, even back in its day. And I'm still surprised it wasn't rated R. Well, we'll get there.
Yeah.
Because this movie's definitely not PC.
No.
And it feels to me like almost like John Hughes was trying to offend people with this film. And that's one of the main reasons I really enjoy this film. I did back in the day, but I think I really enjoyed the film more too.
Well, yeah, watching it as an older person really changes your perspective on it.
Yeah.
For sure.
Because, as a young person growing up as a kid, you get it to a certain degree and stuff, but you don't get the innuendos or the social messages.
Some of them, yeah.
No, definitely not. And I would go on to say that this movie would definitely not get made today. That's for sure.
Oh, 100% no.
No.
Would I go to one? Well, of course, because,
Well, they don't make these anymore, but maybe to go further, it is kind of surprising to me that this movie has not been signaled out by cancel culture and actually have this existence eradicated. Well,
I mean, if they're going to do that, then they would just have to eradicate every 80s and 90s film or every film made previous to 2000. So let's just eliminate all cinema.
And thank God for that, they haven't.
Exactly. And we're here to bring it back to you.
Okay, let's get into it. The movie revolves around these two high school losers, Gary and Wyatt, who just can't get a break. They're bullied, they're picked on, they don't fit in, no one likes them, or at least gives a shit about them, and they especially have trouble with the ladies. They're basically invisible to them. First image of the movie, we get a pan-up shot with Ric Flair's music playing.
All right, Daddy! Woo, woo, woo! Woo, woo! All right! Woo!
Yep.
And we see Gary and Wyatt standing and watching girls in gym class or gymnastic class.
I think.
Gymnastic team.
Yeah.
And we see on the logos of their shorts, like most John Hughes film, this film is shot in probably Chicago, Illinois, and it's set at the Shermer High School. And if you remember, Shermer High School is actually also the high school name in the Breakfast Club.
Which happens to be one of my trivia questions at the end of this pod, but we'll know that one.
Hey, you know what?
That's okay. That's cool.
And the guys are talking about what they would like to do with them. And Wyatt, shower right then. And Gary, he's like, they want to hit the city, they want to hit the nightlife, they want to have drinks, and then they talk about throwing a huge party, and everybody knows who they are. So this right here actually clearly foreshadows what actually happens in the movie.
Yes, it does.
Yeah. But of course, Wyatt brings him back to reality that nobody likes us. I really see in this movie Wyatt, he's kind of accepts their situation, where Gary, he knows reality, but you can just tell he doesn't see himself as this outcast.
Yep, that's right. Like I said, his confidence is pretty great.
And then we, a couple guys come up behind them, as we learn it's Ian and Mad Max. They overhear them pointing out two girls in the crowd, which happen to be Ian and Max's girlfriends. So, big mistake. And they get pantsed.
Yep.
Yo! Check us out!
Right to the ankles.
Right to the ankles. And the girls, they're not impressed at all. They don't even laugh at them.
Do you notice how long it takes them to pull them up?
They're shocked.
They're shocked. Yeah, they're massively shocked. It takes them a good 10 seconds to pull them up.
Oh yeah, and Gary tries to explain, and not Gary, I mean Wyatt is trying to explain, and Gary's covers his mouth and pulls him to the side.
Dude, just shut up.
Get out of there. But yeah, there was a long leg.
Yeah. Yeah.
I also love that Wyatt's gym shorts are way oversized.
Yes. Well, he probably didn't get the size he asked for.
Well, probably not. They just can I get that? They don't have them, and because you think nobody cares, right?
And it's you're a nerd. What do you care? You're not going to be running.
I know, but they just don't look like nerds. They don't look like your typical.
True.
I don't know. Maybe because they're social.
Maybe they're just lost. Yeah.
Maybe.
Yeah.
And then we get to the credits and voiceover from Bride of the Frankenstein, which kind of correlates nicely to this film.
It does.
And I love this song. This song is ingrained in me from a kid to this day, The Weird Science. And did you know the band that performed this song is called Boingo Boingo?
Boingo Boingo.
Yeah, and a little bit of trivia. You might, I don't know if you have this, but the lead singer of this band happened to be Danny Elfman. And
I recognize the name. Who is that guy?
Danny Elfman is the film composer of the Batman '89, Spider-Man trilogy, the Tobey Maguire one, Beetlejuice, Edward Scissorhands.
Right, yeah.
He's one of the elite film composers.
Good.
So kind of cool that he was actually in that band. And then we kind of get to... the boys are spending the weekend together while Wyatt's parents are visiting his sister Chloe. The parents are meeting her fiance. He's a veterinarian.
Mm-hmm.
And then we learn that Gary's kind of wondering, by yourself? He's like, no, Chet's coming home from college. One thing they don't actually establish here, what do you think Chet was going to college for?
I don't know, because all you ever really know of him is he's a hunter. He's got a flat top, so you think he'd be destined for the military.
He was in the military.
Or was in the military. Okay, yeah. So, I have no idea.
And he's an extreme douchebag.
Yeah, so what would you be going to college for?
Yeah,
I don't know.
You'd think, but the college, so you're what is he like? You could see him being a mechanic or maybe an engineer.
I wouldn't throw engineer there.
No.
But something hands-on for sure. Yeah.
What if he was being a lawyer?
Oh, God, no.
Well, his interrogation...
Who would hire that guy?
Well, he could be the flat top
that would be
law
fun.
firm.
That would be fun.
Then they're watching Frankenstein, 1931 classic Universal. And actually, they're kind of cross-cutting with The Bride, Frankenstein, and the original. And I like this because it's actually in color. And I've always wanted to get myself a copy of the colored version of that film.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this movie lines up great with Frankenstein.
Well, it does. It's perfect. And I think you can imagine John Hughes. Who wouldn't, someone like him probably was really inspired by that show.
Probably.
This film probably was.
Yep.
And I don't know if you noticed, while we see the TV on the bookshelf, this could be kind of an Easter egg, and it might be alluding to Frankenstein and what they're about to do, but you see all kinds of books about science, about creating life. You see the Book of Popular Science, the Essentials of Toxicology, Book of Knowledge. So you're wondering, Is Wyatt's sister also a veterinarian? Or went to veterinarian college?
We could assume.
Yeah, because you know Wyatt's not.
Definitely not. Well, because he hunts. So.
Yeah. So we know Chet is not in veterinarian.
Yeah.
So while watching the movie, Gary has a brainwave. It's simple. Let's make a girl.
Yeah. They did it on TV. Let's do it here.
Yes. So they decided to make the perfect woman. And how do they do this, you say? Well, they do this with their computer, photos, bras on their head, a Barbie doll. Gary's master plan is make a computer three-dimensional program.
Is this maybe how they got the idea of those 3D printers?
Oh, it's possible.
Right? Because this is like the birthplace of a 3D printer. Kind of.
And back in the day when I was a kid, because I haven't seen this in forever, back in the day, I'm like, why would they think they can actually make a live human being? But they weren't intentionally trying to make a real person. They wanted just a three-dimensional program that can help them with women, which makes sense.
Yeah.
So, and that's a pretty simple procedure back in the 80s, right?
Yeah. Yeah, real simple.
Yeah. And you kind of mentioned this. This is why I think I really love this film. Is it definitely is not set in reality. It is completely over the top.
That's right.
This movie's proudly ridiculous, and you can tell it's proud to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Right. So now, floppy disk is in, and we're off to the races. Of course, with the typical teenage boys, they start with their favorite features, right?
Well, of course.
Simulating the female form.
I would.
Yeah, breast size. We get a good visual. We kind of pop out 3D.
That's right. Yeah. Yeah, they're making them bigger, smaller, and he's like, "Oh no, that's too much."
Yeah, Gary. Gary is the expert that he is.
Totally Wyatt. I mean, if there's one thing I know, it's female stats. I mean, anything bigger than a handful, you're risking a sprain toe. You know, and yeah.
But Wyatt's like, well, they got to give her a good brain so they can play chess with her, right?
Yeah, but remember he says, "Do we need to give her a brain?"
Yeah, I know.
That was so funny. Funny.
Was that Gary?
I think that was Gary. He's like, "Do we need to give her a brain?"
Yeah,
you do, man.
Yeah, because he's clearly like the guy. He's the superficial one. Where Wyatt's kind of the more kind of sensitive, kind of thoughtful one.
He is.
But they do, in order to do that, they need more power, so they hack into a mainframe for more power.
Because he wants her to.
I want her to aerobicize.
And then they assume. So they go into, I'm assuming, Chet's treasure chest for the Playboy magazines.
Right. Looking for like body parts from like different women. The perfect. Putting together the perfect woman based on body parts. So.
And they scan it through the computer, their scanner, because they want to make it as more of a three-dimensional simulation.
Guess. So they're just like tossing pages into the scanner.
Yeah, just.
I wish it was that easy.
Yeah, all kinds just in there. I didn't see Sears catalog, but we'll get there.
Yeah.
And then we want to do kind of like we see them doing the brain simulation, so they base off her intelligence on Albert Einstein, so her IQ is way off the charts.
Super high.
Well, which is good.
Yes.
I guess. No, maybe not for Gary.
No.
And then you see the creativity of simulation, which is why she's probably just wild and kind of crazy. Mozart, and then they throw in David Lee Roth, which was an interesting mix.
Yep. Well, because that kind of made her like dress how she dressed. Hey, because like remember later on in the film she ends up dressing kind of like David Lee Roth.
Well, she does.
Yeah.
She definitely does.
Yeah.
And I think throughout the films as Easter eggs, there's like pictures and posters or magazines of Kelly LeBrock in there.
Okay.
You can see some of the pictures that they're throwing in there. The scanning is actually of Kelly LeBrock, which is a nice touch, which makes kind of sense.
Yeah.
And then they hook up a bunch of batteries and even a car battery, I believe.
Yeah. And then what do they use to? What do they hook up to it?
Barbie doll.
A Barbie doll.
Okay.
They got these little clamps on the Barbie.
So I'm going to assume that the Barbie doll was once Chloe's, or could it be Chet's?
I hope so.
Or, well, I mean, it could be Wyatt's.
I hope not.
and then they have a ceremony, seance.
Yes, with bras on their heads,
candles.
Right?
What?
Or was that after?
No, they had bras on their head.
Yeah, they had the bras on their head.
And he was doing some kind of seance.
He's like, why are we wearing bras on our heads?
Yeah. And did you notice the doll was on the Game of Life game board?
Ooh. Oh, yes, I did. I remember that. Yep.
To me, it was a typical thing, like, in the 80s. And yes, I know it was created in the 1860s. I just remember it from the 80s. You know, that life game, because we played it when we were kids.
Yes, we did too.
So I just assumed it was kind of like an 80s thing.
Oh, for sure.
No, but it's far.
Does it really go back that far?
Yeah, it goes that far.
I mean, obviously, that game board is not from the 1860s. Like, they wouldn't have designed that in the 60s.
It's probably modernized.
Okay, yeah, but that's awesome. That's cool.
I thought that was kind of cool tidbit.
Yeah.
Then all hell breaks loose. The skies open up.
The computer goes haywire.
And, like, reality and all physics is just, no, it's gone.
Yeah.
And a big storm, and I think we see the doll disappear.
I think so.
So the doll becomes her.
I think.
Right?
I think.
Which is kind of... Okay, yeah. Then this leads us to the iconic entrance of Kelly LeBrock as...
Yeah, with this really bright red glowing light, and then the closet door opens and out she comes, looking just amazing.
Yeah, like every young man's fantasy.
Yeah, she's a fantasy for sure.
And the first thing they do is go for a shower.
Yeah, with their clothes on.
Yeah, it doesn't go. It doesn't go as their fantasies that they talked about. Yeah.
So she's in there showering and she's soaping up and talking to them, and they're both got their arms like kind of up against their crotches. They're wearing underwear, I think, in there or shorts.
Well, they had jogging pants on.
Yeah, that's right.
Shoes.
Yeah, so they're standing in the back of the shower.
Covering. It looks like they're covering.
Her.
Yeah, they're just.
Yeah.
Well, you would think 15-year-old boys would probably have no idea what to do. But, back then,
most
don't. They talk game. Well, we talk game.
Yes.
Yeah. But in reality, this hot 23-year-old appears like that.
Yeah. So the whole premise of this is straight up like it's statutory. Well, I mean, there was no sex anyways. So yeah.
Watching this scene, you're right. Really reminded me. There's moments in this movie which could not happen today.
That's right. Yeah, exactly.
Because we have two 15-year-old boys are taking a shower with this 23-year-old adult, beautiful nude woman.
Yeah.
Now in the film, she wore like a bikini and had something to cover her chest area.
Of course.
So it's film, but like with the shots and stuff. But you're just thinking of, can you imagine? And this, watching this again, especially today, can you imagine if the gender roles were reversed? I don't even think that would have flew back then.
No.
But it's still like, you're like, wow.
Yeah, so if that was a 23-year-old man and two 15-year-old girls, even back then, that would not have been allowed. So
makes me think of Joe Rogan's comedy special, his latest one, Strange Times or something, and he's talking about, from like a guy, like, if it was like a female people, be like, no, how dare you? And because we're protected, we want to protect them, and they should be protected and stuff. Where it's like a guy, it's like, fuck it, next. Because you don't see the severity of it and stuff, but it's still like, when you think about it, it's still inappropriate.
That's right. Yeah.
I think then Lisa takes him out on the town.
Yeah, they're trying to figure out what to do with her, because they're like, okay, well, we created her, now what do we do, right?
Yeah.
And then so she ends up coming up with the plans.
She does, and we learn right here when she's driving with the car and stuff, because they're asking her, like, how'd you get it? And she's like, I don't have anything else. So you learn that because she's a genie, basically.
That's right.
She can have anything she wants. Because it's even cool, like, when they're dressed up and they're going to go out, they have their hair slicked back, they got, they just look out of place and they come out of the room and they looking sharp, they're looking fashionable.
Yep.
And you're surprised. So, like, she's kind of starting her kind of journey of getting them out of their shell.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And she wants, she needs them to name her, and they name her after a girl Gary liked, who kicked him in the nuts.
Lisa. Yeah.
Which is a nice name.
Yeah.
So she takes them out to a club, and why in the hell does she takes them to this greasy bar called the Candy Bar with a K?
Well, yeah, and it's interesting, the patrons at the bar are all black. It's a black bar.
Well, they have the one kind of pimp white guy.
Okay, well, yeah, I think he was maybe light skinned.
But that's that actor. He appears in almost every John Hughes film.
Okay, whatever.
He played the janitor in Breakfast Club.
Okay, so 99% of the patrons there were black, and so when they walked in, three white people, they just went silent. It was like they stopped what they were doing. The music stopped, and they stared at them at the door. And then they're like, and then I believe he says something like, "Should we be in here?"
Well, and it's not only just that, but also like they're underage.
That too. Yeah, but she's like, "No, we got this." Yeah.
Yeah. And Gary, they're definitely out of place, and she's using this place to lighten them up a bit, right?
Yeah.
That's kind of really the point of this. So, again, watching this movie, again, reminded me this wouldn't be made. There's all sides, like in this scene, there's all kinds of dialogue and situations in film that would not fly.
Yeah.
Because we have two 15-year-olds hanging out in a bar drinking underage.
It's awesome.
And the thing is, when you're talking about the bar, I think it seems like it's a blues jazz bar.
For sure.
And some of the Patreons, like you said there, like the guy he calls Fats.
Yeah.
I think he's like a famous blues guitar or something player. Like
I wouldn't doubt it.
Drink up. I think that's who he is, but I don't know what his name is, but he looks familiar.
Okay.
And so Gary, they get drunk, and Gary's telling the adults at this table about an 8th grade girl who broke his heart.
Yeah.
And how much he loves certain areas of this 13-year-old girl with these adults. Let's just leave it at that.
Yeah, I remember he was like, because he's drunk, right? And he's talking so high pitched. He's like, hey, and he's like, bitch, need my nuts, right? Because he was telling the guys there, and they're like, what, bitch, need your nuts? And he's like, it was just hilarious.
Yeah, and he's like, just talk, like you're just, I don't know, man.
Yeah.
I never back in the day.
It was funny,
especially today. Like it's extra funny now, but today, like now, because we're so conscientious on appropriateness.
Yeah.
I just find now it sticks out more to me. I'm like, holy shit.
Well, yeah, back then we're like, like, so what? 15-year-olds are in a bar. Who cares?
I know, but he's talking about 13-year-olds.
Yeah. I know. Yeah, I know. I get it, man.
And then he admits that he actually kind of repeatedly called her until she picked up, then he hung up on her. Then she kicks him in the family jewels and then calls him an expletive, which we're not going to say.
Right.
And then we see Wyatt, he's like, damn straight. And he has that lady, that older lady, he's got her arm around Wyatt, and he's smoking a cigar. But so he's getting out of there, he's drunk, and Wyatt is driving them home drunk.
Yep.
No learners, no driver's license.
It's driving pretty good, actually.
Actually, not too bad when he goes through a red light.
That's right.
And we get introduced to, they get home, we get finally introduced to Chet.
Good old Chet.
Giant asshole. Where we learn that he blackmails his little brother for money so he doesn't snitch on his parents. Like, okay, like how old is Chet?
Yeah, and he blackmails him for like $100 and some odd.
Yeah.
It's not even that much.
No. But, like, why would you extort your little brother for that? Who's a high school, you're a college. That's just...
Yeah.
Those were the 80s.
Yep.
And Gary, drunk, tells Chet that they created a woman, and Chet goes on to say, you two donkey dicks couldn't get laid anymore. And then he kind of, like, tries to fake something out to make him sick.
Yes.
And tells him, like, how about a greasy pork sandwich served on an ashtray?
Yeah.
Well, apparently, that actually line came from Bill Paxton, that when he would be drinking, his dad used to say that line to him.
Okay. Yeah. Okay, cool.
So that was kind of cool. And then Wyatt puts Gary to bed, and him and Lisa have a tender moment. And it is a very sweet moment between the two. And you get a sense that Wyatt and Lisa have already like a deeper emotional connection than does Gary and Lisa. However, I can't negate the fact that this scene is highlighted by a 50-year-old making out with a 23-year-old woman, and she grabs his ass, which plays out nicely for Wyatt later in the film. So he does learn something. I want to stress, they do handle the scenes with Lisa and them very delicately.
Yeah, I think so.
It's cute, it's tender. Like I know if we look at kind of the reality of it, but it is very sweet. And
it's not like raunchy.
No, it's not raunchy.
No.
Like, like this movie's it's raunchy in some respects, like we said, but it's also kind of classy in others.
It is.
Yeah. Okay, so so the next day comes. I want to say, like, I love the nice touch when they wake up, the Exorcist music's playing in the background, because that music's just freaky. That movie is, like, a masterpiece in my opinion.
Yeah.
And they kind of think last night was all a dream. But how could they still have the same dream?
That's right.
And, you know, so they just, you know, because the place is clean, everything's fine, and then they just kind of scuff it up. Like, yeah, it's a dream. But then Wyatt goes walking, and we notice he's wearing Lisa's panties.
That he is.
This is where him and Lisa are kind of talking about, you know, dealing with Chet, and he's like, you know, Wyatt's scared of him, and, you know, wants to run away from him. She's like, you gotta confront him. She takes off, and then Chet comes down there in his towel, and kind of, morning, turd brain.
Yeah.
You know, and you spit in this.
Yeah.
So Lisa probably spit in his coffee.
Good.
Yeah. And then Wyatt walks away, and I just like that. Oh, I like your panties. And,
yeah, I think Chet says it's a behavioral disorder.
This is severe behavioral disorder. And it's like so crazy. He's talking about this, and he's like, what? Next thing you're going to do is wear bras on your head.
Yeah.
And then, of course, typical John Hughes film, Wyatt looks at the camera,
breaking the fourth wall.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. That's John Hughes.
Yep.
Most of his films. And the next part's awesome. For God's sakes, will you cover yourself? So Chet gives him his towel to cover himself. And I'm just thinking...
and Chet's naked.
And Chet's butt naked. So you can imagine walking in on this and how weird that will look. Two guys, one wearing female underwear and the other butt naked. I know they're brothers, but fuck, that's...
Yeah, it's fine.
Next we get to the awesome mall scene.
Yeah.
Gary and Wyatt are at the perfume department, kind of reminiscence of Chevy Chase.
Yes.
In Christmas Vacation. But
yep.
Chevy, as much as he stumbles over his words and he's in heat and stuff, he's still kind of smooth.
Yes.
Where these guys, you learn, and this is a good scene where you really learn outside of anywhere. Gary and Wyatt, nobody likes them because that girl, as soon as she sees them, she's already
right away
has her nose up to them, and she's like, "Are you here to shop for your mom?" And he's like, "No," and then she's kind of like, "Well, how could you two have girlfriends?" And then they go on to explain how Lisa is, how would you make her a girlfriend?
Yeah.
And then they said, "Hey, didn't you guys get beat up by Homecoming?"
Yeah.
So you really see, like, nobody,
Yeah, so they're just instilling the fact that everyone thinks they're just a bunch of losers. You know? Yeah.
Yes, definitely.
Keeping them down.
And then we get a cut to Lisa, and she's talking, I think it's in the lingerie department, to the old lady that works there.
Yes, she is.
And she has a fawn.
Yeah.
Basically a see-through one. And she asks, most questions I think that most women would ask to tell her. If you were a 15-year-old boy, would they turn you on?
Yeah.
And of course, we get to see Ian and Max, and the girls are in the mall on the balcony, and they zero in on Gary and Wyatt sitting, and the boys are kind of starting to feel good about themselves, but Mad Max and Ian, not on their watch, baby.
This is where... Yeah, right when this happens, this is where I'm thinking to myself, like, man, Iron Man is such a dick.
Oh, like, I love him as a dick, though.
Right? But, he's even a dick in Iron Man. Like, that's just his...
Yeah.
He's just confident, like, overconfident, and just assertive, and be like, you know what? I'm selfish because I'm rich, and I'm smart, and I can create anything I want. So, and seeing this early version of this guy here, he's great.
Well, you see his charisma and his charm and his comedic delivery, because they play these bullies, but you like them. Like they're fun.
Yeah, they are.
They're pricks.
Yeah.
And actually, a little bit of trivia: the actor that plays Mad Max, he said that was actually his first scene on the set that he had to dump the slushie on Gary and Wyatt. And he said that the celebratory handshake he does with Robert Downey right before pouring it was improvised between the two of them. So you can tell that,
cool.
Because it's perfect. Like, their little mannerisms, their little, is pretty funny.
Yeah.
And they're hilarious in this movie. And of course, poor old Gary and Wyatt. Everyone in the mall's laughing when they pour the slushie.
I know.
Like these poor guys.
Yeah.
So they're enjoying themselves, and then obviously the girls are kind of pissed off at them.
Yeah.
Because it's embarrassing,
too far.
too. It's too far.
Yeah, they went too
mean,
far.
And it probably embarrasses them, and they have a conscience because they're good girls.
But it sounded like when they were talking with each other after that incident, they were like, like that's really embarrassing and stuff, and we don't like it. But they seem like that they needed to be with them because of popularity
Well, social
or
standing.
social standing, right? So they were afraid to leave their boyfriends due to
Yeah.
social standing because then they would get chopped down a notch, right? And so that's kind of the way it was, I think, back then was people would date each other not because they really liked each other and what they but because of your social standing in school.
Mhm.
And I think that we've now evolved to this time where I don't think that happens anymore. I could be totally wrong, but based on my kids' experiences in high school, I just don't see that.
Yeah, because the social standing was
yeah.
like with us when we went into high school. There was kind of like a hierarchy of people and
there was
girls that you would kind of associate with and not. Okay?
There are still groups, like there's still
groups,
cliques that people join, which is fine. Wherever you fit, you fit. But I don't think there's so much like a hierarchy as there used to be, which is good. I like that.
Yeah, because you can see Robert Downey, Ian and Max, they probably are very popular in school, and these girls, probably are popular due to just associating with them. So, and they're kind of talking about, they're like, they're pretty much they're done with them, but they're kind of bartering. So yeah, it was kind of interesting. So they decide to stay with them, and then they hit the escalator. But this is when Lisa, they pass her on the escalator,
right?
And then they start playing "Pretty Woman," David Lee Roth or Van Halen, and I just love how they're just, these guys are like,
they were starstruck.
They're starstruck, and then she kind of gives the little kind of kiss, and then before they know it, they just ditch the girls, and they go right after.
When does that happen? That's funny.
Yeah. They go follow her, and they catch up with her, and I just like the awkwardness. Like, she's like, "Yeah, we saw you looking at us." She's like,
"Yeah."
And then
so
they're
what?
Like, "My name's Ian, and this is Max from Mad Max," and they're really trying to put it on.
They're trying to ham it up. Yeah.
And she's not giving them anything.
No.
And I'm just like, Robert Downey, so how's it going?
Yeah, she's taking him down a notch.
Taking down a notch,
which is good.
Part of it, right?
Yeah.
Like she's smart.
Well, she is 23, and they're what?
Yeah.
15, 16, 17, whatever.
Yeah, and then Gary comes with the Porsche.
The poor man's Porsche, the 944. Yeah,
the poor man's Porsche, and he's driving all over the place. Because I guess he doesn't have his license either.
Because she must have just created that car, right?
Yeah, she just came out of nowhere. Well, you see Gary's name on the license plate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
and so Ian and Max are like, "What? These douchebags?"
Yeah,
you can just tell they're like, "What?" And then he comes out there, she, gives him a kiss on the cheek, and then she invites them to a party.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, they're talking about the party because I think you really see how high strung the guys are, and because throughout the whole movie, and even they want to be a part of all this, and she's making a part of them, but they still like they're being resistant to it, and she even tells them like, you guys talk about all this, just embrace it, but they still can't.
Yep.
But I like that she goes and we get to her. She goes and meets Gary's parents.
I love this
is a
scene.
great scene.
This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie. It is so good.
Yeah.
It is so good.
Yeah.
Oh, this is just awesome. She's dressed up like David Lee Roth here, and talking with mom and dad, and the father is your typical like no bullshit, like don't talk like that, go to your room kind of deal. And she's smoking away, and was she pouring herself a drink? I can't remember.
She has some cocktails there. Yeah, because I think the dad was a plumber.
Right, that's right.
Yeah. And she comes like dressed up like David, like you said. Pretty much.
Yeah.
And he's like, "You do not look like high school." And she's like, "Do I look?" And then Gary's like, "Well, she's a foreign exchange student."
Yeah.
Where's her accent?
Exactly.
Yeah,
Or she's from Canada. Technically, it's foreign.
It's foreign. In this scene, they say it kind of escalates. He's like,
it does. She ramps it up here.
Yeah, she tells him, we're going to throw a party, and there's going to be drugs, alcohol, sex.
I like this line that she says right there, and it's sex, drugs, rock and roll, chips, dips, chains, and whips. I love it. It's and he's like, what? Like, he's like, yeah, we're all gonna party in our underwear, and like, the dad was just enthralled.
Yeah, he's just like, what the hell? And then doesn't she say like beats like beating into like a tube sock or something?
Yeah.
And then the mom goes ballistic. Gary, you said you were combing your hair. I was. And she's just losing her shit. And then he's like, shut up.
Oh man, yeah, it's funny. And she really lays it on to the parent, like to the dad for sure. She like trumps him, like where the dad is trying to be assertive and tell Gary to go to his room, and she's like, nope, that's not happening. We're going to a party. Like she just overpowers him. Like, don't push
me. You're out of shape.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you can't intimidate Lisa.
That's right. She's tough.
She was our version of Wonder Woman.
Yes, exactly.
So and doesn't she pull the gun on him too?
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, he's going, eh?
Yep.
So they're in the car, and poor Gary's having a meltdown. And
he pulled a gun on my dad.
Yeah.
It ends up being a squirt gun.
Squirt
gun.
Good. And then, of course, she can do anything she wants, so they have a memory of her. So
she erases the memory, but then the mom has the memory.
Yeah, the mom's like, Gary was acting funny.
And he's like, who's Gary?
Oh, man, poor parents.
Funny.
And then it's party time.
Yes. Hundreds of people, literally hundreds of people show up at this house.
Yeah.
It's a hitting party. Like, it's crazy.
It's a great scene because you see, like, from the lawn to, like, the neighbors, just people, and, like, hey, everyone, and they all come in there, and they all pile in there. It's a great scene. They hit the kitchen, all the food, and, like, within seconds is gone, and it's wild. Music's jamming.
Yep.
And, of course, Gary and Wyatt, where are they? In the bathroom.
Yep.
And then
one thing I did notice as they show the house from the inside, they're walking up the stairs. Did you notice the picture on the wall was a family photo of Wyatt and his family? Or no, it wasn't his. No, whose house was it?
Well, it's Wyatt's.
It's Wyatt's house. That's right. So yeah, Wyatt and his family. Someone had drawn mustaches on every single person in that family photo, and they show it like 2-3 times.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
I didn't. I
caught that one. I'm like, oh, mustaches on everybody. It's pretty funny. Just destroying everyone.
Just destroying it, and. So then Ian and Max come there. How you doing? And they're right to the bar, but they're there for Lisa,
of course.
And then the girls are apprehensive. They
yeah. And
then they see Lisa, and they're just intimidated because
why wouldn't
they know their numbers up with Lisa.
Yeah.
And Lisa just knows how to play the scene and play people. And
she's reading the room and
just great. Like she almost floats in the scene.
She does
all over the place. And I like the dress she's wearing. Like she looks really good. Classy but flashy. I don't know. I really like her look. Like she has different styles and they all stand out and they all suit her. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then with that British accent.
Oh yeah, even better.
So the boys are in the bathroom. So Deb and Haley decide they gotta use the bathroom. So they go upstairs and they run into the Gary and Wyatt, and of course, conveniently, one of them had to take a shit.
Yeah,
that's just perfect, eh?
I know.
They're not subtle.
You're at a party. Yeah. Oh my god.
Yeah. So they start talking. So you see the sparks are going on between them. It's like a weird.
It's an awkward.
But the girls are pretty receptive.
They were.
When they find out, they're like, we have never seen you guys at this. Well, it's actually my house.
Yeah.
Really? Yeah, we throw these all the time, of course. Eh?
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
So, they're just kind of little sparks, and they're like, well, we can. But actually, Gary says something pretty cool there that she wants to check her makeup. I think it's Deb, the blonde.
Yeah, and he's like, do you guys want to come in with us?
Yeah, come in. He's like, I just want to check my makeup, and he's like, well, no, there's nothing wrong with your face.
That's right. I like that.
It was nice.
That was good.
You're kind of seeing
that was nice.
That's perfect, eh?
Yeah.
And you can kind of see her facial expression that, this is interesting.
Yeah.
And they're talking, and then we need to use the bathroom. No problem. So they go in the shower.
Yeah, so they go and just hide in the shower, and they're like having like a little huddle.
Yeah.
You got like this thin piece of glass separating two boys from two girls, and they're like whispering and talking. Like, of course, that they can hear each other, but they're not, right?
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
But,
then, they're talking. They're like they're feeling it. I'm feeling it. It's a make a move. And of course, Gary's like, you talking about like a bone down or something. And then, so they come up. And they slide up on, and they see these. They're different girls.
They are very different.
It's not Hilly.
That's right.
And so. And then I think at this point, Ian and Max run into Lisa, and they're trying to proposition her to,
of course,
maybe come take a ride on the wild side. And she's like, "No, I'm loyal to Gary." And they're kind of dickish. They're like, "What? Those losers?"
Yeah.
He's like, "Yeah," and she's like, "No, even if I wanted to, it's up to Gary and Wyatt." Ian and Max, they look at each other because, they've owned these guys probably forever. They think, well, it's going to be simple. We'll talk to them, either negotiate or intimidate. And then I think we finally get Lisa kind of runs into the girls because they just come from the bathroom. And they say, boy, those guys are weird, but they're kind of cute. Mm-hmm. So it's kind of setting it up.
Yes.
And they run into Lisa.
Now, I think around this time, they cut to Wyatt's grandparents. They were sitting having dinner. And they were discussing they should drop in and see Wyatt because they haven't seen their grandson for a while. So that's setting it up that grandparents are on the way and there's this big fucking house party going on.
Like, I'm wondering if both the grandparents' audio, their voices sound the same. Like the husband and the wife's her voice sounds just like the husband.
I didn't even pick up on that.
I'm like,
that's weird.
Yeah.
Okay.
Family voice.
Yeah. So, now that, it's like, grandparents are on the way.
Yeah, grandparents are on the way. Lisa runs into the girls, and they're talking, and she tells them that if they get a chance, they should shower with Gary and Wyatt. It's exquisite.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Ian and Max, now they're talking to the boys, and they're trying to persuade them to, let them give them a shot at Lisa.
Yeah, I like what Gary says here, and he goes, we'd like to, but common decency prevents us from loaning her. It's like common decency prevents you from loaning her. So again, they are assuming that they own Lisa.
Yeah, they
own her. I mean, they did created her, so it kind of,
Well, it's implied, and she even says it, but really, they never control her at all.
No, not one bit.
She's
controlling them.
That's the beauty of this, that no one has control of Lisa. It's her.
But it's more like a loyalty is what it is.
Yeah,
it's more like a loyal to each other, not owning.
It sounds like
it sounds like
but they do have a deep rooted, because he says, he kind of says it in there, our affection is deeper than that.
Yes.
And it is,
yes.
it is a special relationship.
She's kind of like a sexy mother teaching them how to be men.
Yeah.
In a way, it kind of is.
It's funny that, he has his older brother who's this hunter, military guy. You think you could look to Chet as some type of, male role model, or, Wyatt's dad, or even, Gary's dad. And actually, they get the parental from both mother and father, actually, from Lisa.
That's right.
That's the brilliance of the character. But I think it's easy to kind of overlook that she teaches them in all fronts to be men.
She does,
and I really like that.
Yep.
But I also like the bartering of Ian and Max. They're like, if you give us a shot. And we'll let you have a crack at Deb and Hilly.
Trading women.
Well, they're trading women. They're having us talking. And then when they're talking about, when Gary's talking about their deep-rooted affection and time with Lisa, they're like, well, we put the time in, and there's a deep, we're willing to, sacrifice. What is this?
So then they decide to create another woman for them.
They decide to create... They created
hey, let's just create you guys a woman.
They decided to make one for them, and right off the bat, they got the bras on their head. Yeah. Doesn't even one of them ask them why are we wearing this?
Yeah, well, yeah,
it's for the fact. But then they're doing the the breast size, and they're like this bigger.
Yeah.
Like those two. Of course,
They went crazy.
Those two are like, okay.
Yeah. And then they're like, did you? Well, shit's happening, right? Like,
Yeah.
everything's going crazy again. The computer's going wonky. And then like, oh shit, what happened? They're like, did you forget to hook up the doll?
Well, yeah. Well, and the thing is, before that, you see like people are going into TV. The pictures are moving. You see pictures of the parents dancing.
Yeah.
Like this is how zany and crazy and like no reality in this film.
Yeah.
It's pretty good. And then like all the furniture is getting sucked out of the chimney.
Yeah, and getting thrown out of the
Yeah, and then the
lawn.
girl's playing that, and of course, everybody gets away, and she's still there trying to play nonchalant. Before they start blowing her, and then of course, typical 80s, everything gets blown away right down to her knickers.
Yeah.
Actually, that actress, the piano chick, is actually she did all her own stunts for that.
Oh, really?
And she was a Playboy model.
Oh, very nice.
Very nice. It's very nice, but it's kind of
Kudos
cool
there.
that
Yeah.
she did the whole stunt. Like,
Awesome.
everything, we blew her into the water up there, so she performed everything, so it's kind of cool. Lisa's pissed because, they're not learning.
No,
They
that's
haven't
right.
learned a thing, so she's going to teach them a lesson, and like you said, we see this nuclear missile that, like, basically...
Because I believe the connectors, the wires were hooked up onto
to the
the
Time magazine.
to the Time
Yeah.
magazine with the missile on the
Yeah.
front, so you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Shit.
Yeah, so Gary's losing his shit. And like she said, he forgot to pick up the doll. But the thing is, this is where I'm like still kind of confused. I don't know if I'm confused, but I thought the doll became Lisa.
Well, that's
So
that's kind of...
Yeah, like so
That's what I
they'd
thought
have
too.
to find another doll.
That's right. Yeah, so maybe there was another doll. They just forgot to hook another one up. You know, like...
Well, that's why, but again, if it's maybe Wyatt's doll, maybe the only one he has.
I'm assuming it's his sister.
I'm assuming,
probably,
right? But I'm...
Yeah. So, yeah, it just happened to be the Time magazine with the missile on the front. So, yeah.
So, they forgot to hook up the doll, and she decides, you know what? I'm going to bring them a challenge to bring out their inner strength. So, one way to do this is bring killer mutants led by the actor Vernon Wells. The guy that played, he was one of the villains in Road Warrior.
Oh, yeah.
And he was the villain in Commando.
Awesome.
Really good in it. I enjoyed him in that film, so it was great. And then the Conehead guy is the guy from The Hills Have Eyes, right?
Oh my god, that movie is so freaky.
I've never seen it. I don't know.
Oh, don't watch it.
Yeah.
It's disturbing.
Yeah.
It's really disturbing.
Yeah. Okay.
But very good.
Very good. Okay.
Yeah.
The Hills Have Eyes. No, I've never seen that. And then I think the mutant guy with the plate in his face there, he's just a stunt guy. And I think I think he was one of the stunt doubles for Harrison Ford and Indiana Jones.
Okay.
So the boys are like, they're hiding in the closet, trying to hide away from it, and Lisa, you gotta confront this or people are gonna die. And they're like, nope, but she's not given that choice. So
around this time, the grandparents show up.
Oh, I keep forgetting about the grandparents.
Yeah, because they're not in it much, but they show up here.
Right.
And I believe they're, of course, shocked when they walk in, and but they meet up with Lisa. Lisa, I think, intercepts them, and she puts a little spell on them and puts them in the closet.
Yeah. Well, they don't stand for baloney.
That's right.
Yeah, she
puts a little spell on them.
Puts them in a catatonic state.
Yeah. Yeah, so like they're smiling, but they're still.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're fine.
So they're okay.
And then she shows, and I think that's actually, you're right, backtracking. She reveals to Gary and Wyatt that his grandparents
came
there.
Oh.
And that's where I think Wyatt really starts losing it.
Yeah. He opens the door and he's like, Grandma?
Like, I just like how they're sitting there and it's like, well, by the way, your grandparents are here. And he's like, okay, thanks, Lisa. Whack!
Yeah. Yeah, that was funny.
And then, fast forward back to the mutants.
Yes.
They're in a pickle, and one of the mutants breaks through the closet and grabs the guys.
Yeah.
And the Vernon Wells Road Warrior mutant, because he basically is dressed up as that character from that film.
Yep, pretty much.
Pretty much. It's like they amalgamated these evil people from movies.
Yeah.
And he goes on to like verbally humiliate them.
Yeah, they bust in with their motorcycles, crashing through the windows, and all hell breaks loose, and they're berating them.
Kind of accepting it, but then he single outs Deb and Hilly.
Right.
And they grab them. That's when
the boys snap into it.
They snap into it, and they sack up.
Step into it, Slim Jim! Oh, yeah!
And you're like, okay, that's it. It's a cool scene. Like, these dweebs now, going up to them and like, okay, that's it. And they get in his face, and he says, you guys, wear bras on your head. You can't even shower with a beautiful woman.
Yeah, because it's funny that at some point this had to have clued into them that they're saying things that they wouldn't have known. Yeah. Like, you know what I mean? Because like Lisa obviously told them what to say, right? Because these are all things that nobody knows about.
Well, these showering. Are her creations,
right? So I was waiting for one of the boys to be like, "Hey, wait a minute, who told you that?" Like to kind of clue in there.
And also, but the thing is, people start laughing, which is kind of like, would they really laugh in this moment when you're kind of basically it's a hostage situation?
But it's once again affirming humiliation. Yeah, that's right.
And standing up, of course. But so they do. They power through it and get in their face and tell them to get the F out of here. And the Road Warrior guy, he tries to strike him with the gun, but Gary, with the power of Samson, catches it, and then he pulls out the gun.
Yeah.
And then Wyatt empties the shotgun. He tells them to get their explosive friends and get the heck out of here.
Yeah. And
also, I just like, there's that woman, kind of like the cat woman there, and she's kind of sneering, and I don't know, he's just like, why don't you shut up? And it kind of puts her in her place. And so they take charge and they take off.
Yeah, so this was a test for Lisa to get the boys to start manning up.
Yeah.
And stop being cowards.
Yeah. And then they pass the test.
Yeah.
And then everybody, and like this goes back to the beginning of the show before they get the pants.
Yeah.
Everybody will see them. And this is the moment everybody saw
That's
them.
right.
Hilly and Deb see them. Because you see them, like, even when they all leave, the Catwoman says, sorry.
Yeah.
Nice house. Conehead there, Hills is like, please don't tell anybody I have a teaching job.
That's right. I love that when
I love that little gag.
Yeah.
And then the mutant's like, well, call me, we'll do lunch.
Yeah.
All of a sudden, everything's okay, and then they take off, and Gary and them are they're in kind of euphoric, hey man, we did it.
Yeah.
He's like, how did you get a gun? And he's like, oh no, it's a squirt gun, and the gun fires off. But notice the scene when they go to the girls. Like the girls, they're not shaken by that. I think that he actually stirred more with them. Like when he shot the gun.
Yeah.
I think they were more.
No doubt, eh?
I was like, holy shit, eh?
Yeah.
Gary and Wyatt can't do nothing wrong now.
They love a man with a big gun.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the scene, and then Lisa's kind of proud of her work.
Yeah.
And then we get kind of cut the scenes where the girls and boys get to kind of connect.
Yes, separately, because they drive the girls home separately. Yeah. So, and of course they take their fancy.
Well, this is before driving. This is at the night there. Gary's Wyatt's sitting by himself,
right.
And she kind of comes up to him and it's a crazy night, and and I kind of like the contrast because I think my favorite out of the two is Hilly.
Yeah.
So they, and she's just crazy, and then she's asking, "Can I kiss you?" And like Wyatt has some practice, and he's like, "Where do you want it?"
Yeah.
It's like, where do you want it, eh?
That's a loaded question. Yeah.
And then Gary, but the contrast with Gary and Deb is kind of funny because he's kind of a character. So the two girls, why I like them so much is that they kind of contrast with the guys. Like you can see why Deb would go with Gary, and you can see why Hilly would go with Wyatt. I don't know. I just think the way they wrote it or whatever, and
they were matched up pretty good.
They were matched up really good. And then so they kind of start making out, and and then we get to the next day. The house is just in complete shambles.
Oh yeah.
And we get to actually, I want to highlight back to Deb and Gary. She was kind of comparing herself to Lisa.
Lisa, that's right.
And what is she to him? And he kind of tells her, she's like a big sister, and she's like, kind of wondering how would I kind of compare to her to you? And he's like, if I did it all over again, I'd probably do it only her like you. I thought that was smooth. And
That was good.
and,
Yeah.
That's young love.
Yep.
I wanted to highlight that because I really thought that was a nice line.
It was.
And okay, back to Chet. And he sees the mess from the party, and he just got home from duck hunting.
Yes, he's got a duck in his hand and a gun in the other.
Yeah. So he's rummaging through the whole house and like, what the? And he's kind of swearing.
Yeah, wasn't one of his bedroom full of snow?
Yeah, it's snowing in
It
there.
was snowing in his room.
But he's blaming like, he's still blaming Wyatt for it's snowing in there.
Yeah, somehow I don't.
Yeah, he's like, I'm gonna kill him. And which is kind of interesting. Now the boys can get older and stand up to these killer mutants, but when
Yes.
Chet comes in there, they go back to being kind of like victims.
It's different. The family dynamic is really different.
Yeah. Yeah. There's something and then so Chet walks in on Gary and Deb, and I like this scene where he pulls the gun on them and he's pointing it up Gary's nostril, and then he's going eeny miny mo, and like he hits them both on the forehead.
Yeah, you hear that dunk?
Yeah, he just it's a great dunk.
Yeah.
I guess apparently when they were filming that, he just did that on the spot.
He did.
Yeah.
Yeah, I did read that.
He did.
Yeah. That's funny.
Yeah, so he goes and shoots the door down, and you see Wyatt and Hilly are, I'm assuming that was Chloe's bedroom, because you see all these dolls and stuff, so...
Yeah, maybe.
So I think that kind of answers us, they could have found another doll.
Yes, but they said, did you forget to hook up the doll? So they obviously knew to where to find one, they just forgot to hook it up.
Yeah,
So
yeah, and just I was now remembering, like, yeah, that's right, because you always wondering, why are they in that room? Because when I was a kid, I didn't really think I missed.
Yeah, the settings are
with the sister. Like I always kind of, because when you're young,
because she was gone the whole movie, pretty much.
When you're young, there's a lot of things you don't pick up on.
No,
because I watched this movie like I was young. I was like a kid.
Me too.
And you don't understand kind of the connotations and all that.
This was what, 1985?
85.
Yeah, I would have been 9.
Yeah.
So yeah.
I was like maybe 5, 4.
Yeah.
I'm sure we probably didn't watch it in 85. We might have watched it a little bit after.
A little bit after, yeah.
But I remember this movie. I was gonna wait to talk about this after I will. Anyway, let's move on. So Chet is doing his interrogation. He's got everybody there. Lisa's there. The girls are there. Wyatt and Gary, and he's like cussing them all out.
Yep.
And I guess in the scene where Chet is speaking to Callie while interrogating everyone, and what had happened the previous night in the background, you see Suzanne Snyder and Anthony Michael Hall struggling to stay in character, but it's clear they are laughing. Because when he talks about, I didn't think it was like a whale's dick or something about the nuclear warhead.
Yeah.
And John Hughes is like, I'm just going to leave it in there. So I thought that was cool because you clearly see them, they're snickering.
Yeah.
How could you not? Like, it's so hilarious.
It is.
This isn't bullshit. This is a Pershing missile chip.
It's Chet. My name is Chet. And I didn't think it was a whale's dick, honey.
He's getting to the bottom of it, and then I think he finds just nonchalantly the grandparents. Hi, Granny. Hi, Granny.
Yeah, that's right. Still in the closet.
Yeah, and it just says, look, he turns around, closes it. Is that the grandparents in the closet? Yep.
And the look on their faces is just so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's awesome.
So he's ready. He's ready to explode. And I like how he gives a wedgie to Wyatt.
Yeah.
He turns him around and doesn't he slap all of them or something? Or was it just Wyatt and Gary?
I can't remember.
But yeah, as he turns around, I'm like, holy shit. And then Lisa's not having it. She's like, take the girls home.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's like, the Ferrari or
the Porsche. The Porsche and the Ferrari.
Yeah. So, and that's a fun scene.
It is.
Yeah. Especially with Gary. And they happen to outrun the cops, and they drive past Gary's parents.
Yes.
Like, look, there's Gary!
Who's Gary?
What are you talking about? And then Chet and her, they get into it, and she tells him that, basically he calls her a bitch.
Pretty much.
And she's like, yeah, I can be a bitch, and you don't want to make me a bitch.
Mm-hmm.
So,
So what does she do to him?
And she turns him into what? Like a pile of shit? Or
Like, I want to... Yeah, like...
toad shit? Like, what was he? Some type of slug?
Some weird pile of pussy poop with eyes in the mouth.
You know, and it still holds up pretty good. I thought it was a good puppet.
Well, for sure. Like, obviously, back then there was no CGI, so you had to use practical effects. And
like the eyes.
I thought this practical effect was really good, actually, for 1985.
Well, apparently it was actually going to be Bill Paxton that was actually going to operate the animatronic, but I don't think it was too much for him. So
well, yeah, why wouldn't you have a professional doing it, right?
Yeah.
Like someone who's into all the puppetry and stuff,
They had two little people operate the thing.
Which they did a lot in the 80s.
Well, they did that, I think, with the Jabba the Hutt puppet in Return of the Jedi, but I think it was like 4 or 5 that was operating the whole thing.
Yeah.
But I thought it was cool.
Yeah.
But he's like, turn me back and swearing at her.
Yeah.
And then, I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. That was funny.
Yeah. And then the boys, they kind of do their goodbyes with the girls.
Yeah, they have little talks with the girls.
Little scenes and stuff. Yeah, like it's pretty sweet. And
yeah, it looks like that they're probably set up to have girlfriends for the future. Anyways, yeah, and it's good. And then they come back and talking and reminiscing, and you gotta go face Chet. Yeah.
But also talk that they have to have a talk with Lisa.
Yes,
things
it's
have
kind
changed.
of time to say goodbye.
Yeah. But she's already on up that
she knows.
She's already leaving, and then they run into Chet, and he makes his amends with the boys.
Yeah.
And tells them he loves them, and then he eats a fly.
Yes.
I just like when Lisa is kind of, when he's in the slug mode and she's talking about how Chet treats Wyatt.
Yeah.
Like, you bully him, you treat him like shit, you take his money. And he's like, what? I didn't do anything, it's out of love.
Yeah. That character was so funny when he was like the blob, eh? I was laughing.
It would have been awesome to see like shorts of Bill Paxton like, playing that character, or he appeared again.
Yeah.
It was so good. Bill Paxton was so good in this film.
He was.
And so they say their goodbyes. Kind of a heartfelt scene, and she's proud of her boys.
Yeah.
In spectacular fashion, just like she came in, she goes out in a puff of smoke.
Yep.
And the damage to the house gets reversed.
Yes, so it's clear here that she is a genie and she was able to put spells on people.
Yeah.
She put spells on Chet, their grandparents.
Yeah.
Chet's spell would wear off in a half an hour, I think she said, something like that.
Yeah.
So everything was going to get reversed and go back to normal.
Yeah.
Including the damage of the house. Yeah.
Just in time.
Just in time.
When the parents walked in, I like that shot where they open the door and they walk in and the table just
got back into place.
Back into place and everything there. Right?
Yeah. So
they kind of check in.
That was good.
I just like where Gary's kind of in that mode. He goes and hugs his mom. He goes to his dad. He's like, Dad, no.
Yeah.
It's kind of funny. And then Chet, we see Chet is back to normal, and he checks to make sure his giggle berries and everything is all in order.
Yeah, make sure everything's back there. Yeah,
and that's kind of it for the movie. We get back to the high school, and we learn their new
gym teacher.
Gym teacher
is Lisa.
And
she's found herself a new place.
Yeah, that's kind of cool.
So that is cool because that kind of foreshadows that maybe she's going to teach these kids kind of what these two boys went through that weekend.
Yeah.
Kind of provide guidance, teach them how to grow up, things like that. So that's good. It's good to know,
because there could be some good lessons that could come from Lisa. Nice that they have only done one movie, because sometimes just one is. But you kind of be curious, if they actually, John Hughes had another story, what other lessons that Lisa could kind of teach. And it almost feels like she's left the boys, but she hasn't left that far, because I'm assuming it's at that same high school.
I think so. It's one to assume, yeah.
Yeah. So it was great, and again, I like how she winks and they're playing the Rocky music. Actually, some of the versions of the film, if it was the remastered, they definitely are playing the Rocky theme, but in some versions of it, they're playing the Weird Science theme. I like the Rocky theme.
Okay.
Because I've heard it I remember watching on TV, hearing the Weird Science, but I enjoy the Rocky theme. It's just because it's typical 80s.
Yeah.
And Sylvester Stallone. So that's our Retro Roundtable Weird Science. It was great revisiting this film.
It was.
Like, it's been great like, revisiting all these films that we've been doing, because some of these I have not seen forever. Some of these I haven't seen like when I was like a kid. Some of these films.
Yeah, so like we're rediscovering it from a different mindset because we're like so many years older, right? So we're not the same person we were when we first saw these films. We're different.
Right.
So it's great. It's actually watching like a new movie, kind of, you know?
Like, it holds up good. Like, I really do. Like, I really enjoyed. Like, I laughed. I couldn't believe like how much I was laughing again watching this film.
Yeah, and for sure. And it's not like not that high on the raunchy scale by any means. Like, there's way more raunchy films than this. This was actually kind of tame, but
I think it's more of the where like I know what
like the suggestiveness. I guess is there.
Is that I think that's the issue.
Okay, yeah, that could be the issue. Yeah,
it could be the issue, but it's like really what you see because you only see like a little bit of like nudity.
Yes.
As far as these raunchy comedies, especially in the 80s, conservative in that respect.
Yeah, because I mean, anyone who's seen Porky's, Ski School, like all those 80s films, like there wasn't a film that didn't have a woman topless in those.
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
There was always something like
always.
that.
And so this one didn't have that.
And I think if for the people that are a little more on like the conservative or like the progressive, like you have to look deeper between the lines that actually the actress herself, you know, if you listen to those interviews when they're talking in retrospect, she really loved playing the character. Like, you know, she's very reverent to it, and so if any type of person kind of thinks, because she is very sexualized in the film.
Oh, 100%.
But I mean, in a good way and stuff. And like, and I think listen to her talk about it, you know, because a lot of people have their opinions about this kind of stuff, but she's great.
Yep. Yeah. This was a great, in a weird way, this was like an empowerment film for a woman, because like look what she did to those boys. Like, they didn't do anything to her other than just created her. Like, they created her. Yeah, they had they had notions on like what she should look like, and you know, trying to create a perfect woman to please them. But when she came out, she wasn't what they were asking for, and so she kind of just flipped the table on them.
She did.
She did, and that's why I love this film, is because she's the one that took command of those boys.
Yes, and it shows you the brilliance of Johnny Hughes.
Yeah,
that he is so good at writing and capturing the character, especially people that are kind of outcasts. You talk to any young boy or young adult man, these are fantasies you would have. Like, I remember, like, into mine, we talked about celebrity women that we had crushes on. You talk about, and you'd hang with them and stuff. Like, to me, this is plausible that they would do. But then when they do create her, and then they get to know her and they learn from her, it's a whole different dynamic. And I think, you know, this movie's actually now, just thinking about it now, is actually deeper than I even was credit for.
It is deeper, actually. Yeah, I mean, watching it as a middle-aged guy, you really start thinking about the deeper meanings in some of the scenes. And like, again, when we were kids, we're like, oh, this is a, you know, cool movie, hot chicks, and you know, that's all you think about.
That's all you think about.
But then as an adult, you're like, oh, okay, I get it now. Like,
and it's easy to kind of see it as that, or like a stupid raunchy film. And Siskel and Ebert's reviews, Roger Ebert loved it and got kicked out, but Gene Siskel just tore it apart.
Did he really?
It was vulgar and all that.
I wonder how many people remember them. They were like the go-to for...
They were the go-to guys.
For movie reviews, and now everyone's doing it on podcasting, just like us.
Just like us.
Yeah.
So I always found that was kind of interesting, and I enjoyed that show because the contrasting of the two opinions. But and it's funny, they're from the Chicago area.
Yes.
Kind of...
Okay.
Kind of connective tissue there. So, I'm thinking, how many bras... would you rate this head bras? Yeah. Would you rate this film? We gotta go there. We gotta
go there. How many? Yeah, let's go. How many bras?
Head bras. So
sure, whatever.
Heads with bras.
Sure. So bras can be worn on heads now. So that's been shown. Okay. So they're not just for the chest. Let's go 6.5 bras.
Yeah, I'm gonna give it 6.5.
Yeah, because like I said in the beginning, it's stupid, it's zany, it's wacky. It's not a great film, but it does have some good messaging in there, and it's a lot of fun to watch.
We highly recommend this if you just want a funny, zany, that, you know, doesn't apologize and it just goes for it. Watch this movie.
That's right. Yeah, I agree. Before we leave, there's a couple of things I'd like to mention. Obviously, you took one of my trivia, but that's cool. That's cool.
Hey.
I got another good one here. Well, it's not more like trivia, but it's just kind of like an Easter egg.
Okay.
The line that Bill Paxton says to Gary and Wyatt that they couldn't get laid in a morgue, it is based on his character in a film Mortuary in 1983. So it kind of calls back to that.
Oh,
apparently he
nice.
worked in a mortuary. So I don't know the film. I'll have to go and check it out, see what it's all about. But
Okay.
That's kind of where that line came from. And of course, yeah, like you said, the exterior shot of the high school was also using 16 candles. So, good one. And Risky Business, actually, I'll add that. So that too. So Risky Business.
Nice.
Yeah.
I didn't know that. Risky Business.
Yeah.
That's
And another interesting note, John Hughes wrote this script in 2 days.
Yeah.
Can you believe it? I
Yeah.
can almost believe it, actually, because of
Yeah.
how zany it is.
And apparently, he was kind of disgruntled because he wanted to make Breakfast Club before this, but the studio kind of urged him to actually do this.
Okay.
It'd be easier.
So then he was under the gun, so
was under
that's
the
why
gun.
he wrote it in 2
He made
days.
This movie
Pretty freaking good, man.
Yeah, pretty good. Like for 2 days.
Yeah.
And how it turned out.
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. Well, I mean, that's how many John Hughes have we talked about so far?
Yeah, hey, we're not done.
We're not done.
We're not done
We're not
because he
done.
dominated the 80s, in my opinion.
Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's quite a bit more.
Yeah, so that was great. I loved it.
Yeah.
I recommend it. If you can find it out there, grab it. If you would like to find a copy or where to find one, you can let us know and we'll get back to you and can maybe give you some hints on how to find it.
And I definitely recommend getting like a physical copy or like a download done. Like what concerns me about the digital kind of copies is that they can censor, so you buy it, but they can change stuff in there anytime and it will change. So I'm a big like for a movie. You know me, I like the physical copy.
You do.
So I like to kind of get some of these movies that I really kind of hold dear and to kind of stay in their kind of original integrity.
Yep.
Get it.
Yeah.
Because you got to see this. Because I thought Adventures of Babysitting with the Disney Plus kind of did kind of took away from the payoff of that scene with the mechanic.
Yep.
I understand why they would do that.
Yeah, because of progressiveness.
I get it, and I got you want to be sensitive to that, but also it still took away of how the scene escalated.
Well, there's a reason why we're going back to watch these movies, and we want to see how the culture was back then. What did our parents live through? What did they act like? What did they talk like? If you want to know any of that, then you need to watch these movies in their original form. Mm-hmm. Like you said, sometimes the digital copies can be enhanced or changed or edited so that you're not really getting the full effect of how life was back then.
Yeah.
So I think it is important to find an original copy if you can, but, as a consolation, pick up a digital if you have to, that's fine. I still think it makes for a good movie.
It does. I mean, it doesn't take away that it's a fun movie and this is minor stuff. Like, I know we're talking about it's kind of nitpicking, but also, like, with these John Hughes films, what I really noticed, like, how he captured 80s, like America or 80s kind of just nostalgia.
Yeah.
And it kind of made me appreciate a movie, Wonder Woman 1984, on the aesthetics of that film, because this was part of my gripe with Stranger Things. It's set in the 80s, but it never felt like the 80s. And when you watch these shows like this, and you just feel like you're in the 80s, it brings back memories, just everything. And so I like when they do movies, especially if they're going to do retro like this, when they get it right. And I think that's one of my biggest gripes of Stranger Things. It just, yes, the setting is the 80s, but it doesn't feel like the 80s.
Yeah, you're right. After thinking about it and after...
Even the characters.
Yeah, I haven't watched... I don't think I'm caught up on it, but I did watch the first 2 seasons. Yeah. And you're right. Like, it is set in the 80s, but there is that feeling where it's just not there.
Wonder Woman in 1984 kind of captured it pretty good.
It wasn't bad. It wasn't bad.
In my opinion.
Yeah, it wasn't bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't perfect, but it wasn't bad.
But that's another... Okay. Well, on that note, again, you can find us on Spotify, Podbean, YouTube,
yep,
Audible,
and Odyssey,
and you can find us at TurkRaz
on Twitter. That's right. Boy, that was a struggle, but we got it out.
We got it out there. Well, we hope we'd love to hear, and we should probably our email prairiepod21
Yep. At gmail.com. That's right.
We would love to hear from people.
Yeah.
And we'll have these up on our...
Yes, you'll see the visuals for sure.
All right, on that note, signing off there, Chirk.
Yep. Have a good one, guys.
Bye.